Welcome to the Stack Supplement Podcast, the premier source for supplement news and reviews.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Stack Supplement Podcast, where we go over all of the exciting stories shared on our website from the past 7 days. Last week was filled with a lot of new developments, flavors, releases, teasers, launches, and everything in between. And it wasn't quite as exciting as the initial week of the new year, but we were busy nonetheless, and we're going to kick this episode off with news coming from America Labs regarding its incredibly, and what I still think is one of the best tasting energy drinks on the market in America Energy. Ever since we tried the original 4 flavors of that drink, we've been huge fans, still blown away that it's 0 sugar, 0 calories, but the company has announced that it's coming out with its first ever candy options. While I would probably say some of its other flavors were very candy-like with their incredible sweetness and flavors, these two are going to be, or the two that they're working on, are going to be kind of its first candy-centric flavors, if that makes sense. They have only said that they're working on the flavors. They haven't said that these are going to come out, that these are going to be launched anytime soon, just that these are in the works. Typically, that kind of means that the brand may eventually come out with them soon. Again, all we know is that they're working on them, and that these two are going to be called, or currently being referred to, as County Fair, and the other one doesn't have a name, but the brand says that it's going to be a Swedish fish type taste for the America Energy. Now, again, every other flavor I've had of America Energy has been insane, undoubtedly insane. They've all delivered. Big fan of the Nacho Granny's apple, the grape. Impeachment is also good, American made. Everyone I've had, I've liked, as I said. We have the other 2 new ones coming in soon, Liberty and Justice, the strawberry kiwi and the blackberry lemonade. So we'll share our thoughts on those on the site soon. I can't imagine them not delivering. But anyway, the news is that the brand has 2 new flavors in the works. I'm excited to actually see if these do come out, because Candy America Energy would be absolutely insane, because they're going to nail it. I don't quite know what County Fair is. Obviously, I know what Swedish fish is, being that it's inspired by the candy. But again, we'll have to wait and see on these ones, and no doubt more details will be along soon. We jump from the energy drink game to the more on-the-go type market with the protein, snack, and functional brand Barebells, or as sometimes we call it Barebells, because that's the way it's spelled, but Barebells is what we typically call it, which is the Swedish brand. Now, we actually have a mountain of news to share from them from the past week, being that it is our number 1 functional brand overall. They didn't do a lot in 2019. We saw a bunch of new flavors. The year prior was a little more exciting for them, but they've stayed strong and built more and more. But this past week, they introduced a new flavor for their protein RTD, which I consider the best tasting RTD I've ever had the pleasure of drinking, right up there with Grenade's Carb Killer Shake. But they announced a new flavor called Banana Split, which, as you can probably guess, is a mix of chocolate and banana. Similar macros to the other flavors on that one, 24 grams of protein. The other new flavor they announced was a chocolate dough flavor for the number 1 rated Barebells protein bar. And we've rated this protein bar the leader ever since we tried it about two years ago in Europe, and it's just gotten better since, with numerous exciting, tasty flavors since we were introduced to it. There's been the dark chocolate mint, which is an insane flavor. There was also the hazelnut and nougat, and more recently they had the Christmas one, which I didn't think was as good, but the blueberry cheesecake, which came a little before Christmas fudge, is another dynamite flavor. But this new chocolate dough one is actually said to be built. It's built specifically for chocolate fans or chocolate lovers. That's exactly me, so I'm kind of interested to see what this is going to taste like, being that both the chocolate dough protein bar and the banana split protein shake from Barebells are only, by the sounds of things, only been launched in Sweden and a few markets around there. It's going to be difficult to get a hold of this one, but I'm excited to get my hands on it nevertheless. Again, it's the number 1 rated bar, and now they've put together a chocolate flavor or a chocolate specific flavor. I'm pretty damn excited. But the other news is that you can actually now get Barebells in the US. The company bought, I think it's 4 flavors from its original lineup to the US, and you can now buy them all through Amazon at $24.99, which is a pretty damn good deal, right in line with a lot of other protein bars. But the big difference is these ones taste absolutely amazing. They have 4 flavors to start with white chocolate almond, caramel cashew, salty peanut, and cookies and cream. Now, I've tried every single flavor they've released except the more recent one with the chocolate dough. Now, I definitely recommend, if you're interested, if you're a big candy bar type protein snack fan, grab the salty peanut, second caramel cashew. The white chocolate almond and the cookies and cream are not really high up on my list, probably closer to the bottom. The salty peanut is just the legendary Barebells bar, and the caramel cashew is kind of close behind, but that's, if you're going to buy a box of just one, grab the salty peanut. That one is still their leader, even though it was also one of the first they ever launched. Incredible flavor, incredible sweetness, incredible taste. The macros are also on point with 20 grams of protein, no added sugar, and under 200 calories. That calorie mark does vary from bar to bar, but they're all about the same. Again, just head over to Amazon or just go to Stacked, search Barebells. You'll find a whole bunch of information on that. From there, we move to another brand who's all about protein bars, and that is Power Crunch. Now, Power Crunch is, of course, the popular protein wafer snack brand. Similar kind of angle to typical protein snacks on the go, bar type things. Up until now, they've only really had, or up until recently, they've only really had their original wafer snack with 13 to 14 grams of protein. Power Crunch has now introduced a new version, or a new spin-off type product called Power Crunch Pro. Now, as the name kind of suggests, it is a more kind of professional, up there version with 20 grams of protein. So you're getting almost 50% more protein, with the sugar still around about the same. So it's still a low sugar bar, and the calories sit at around 300 to 330. So it's essentially just a higher protein version, still trying to be a great healthy snack. The macros, as I said, 20 grams of protein for 300 to 330 calories, isn't quite on par with your typical protein bar. As I mentioned, that Barebells one, they have 20 grams with around 200 calorie mark. So you're getting about 50% more calories with the Power Crunch Pro. But again, it's really no excuse if you're someone who's a specific wafer fan. There aren't really many protein wafers on the market. This is easily one of the leaders. And again, it comes in 20 grams of protein per bar with 3 flavors to choose from, all of which fans of Power Crunch will be familiar with, as all of these flavors are from the regular or original Power Crunch protein wafer bar. There's triple chocolate, peanut butter fudge, and French vanilla. French vanilla, this is the one that sits at that 330 calorie mark. So if you're trying to keep the calories down, you go for either of the other two. From there, we move to news coming out of Core Nutritionals, who is pretty much going to be one of the biggest brands, I think, over the next few months, based on what they're saying and what they've got planned. So Core already confirmed that in this year, they're going to be doing a massive kind of rebrand overhaul. The branding is going to be changed to a much more modern, stylish, upbeat feel. We haven't seen it. We don't know what it's going to look like. It's just meant to be insane, and they're going to be applying that rebrand to their entire lineup. But with that rebrand is going to come new changes, twists, flavors, formulas, and stuff like this, starting with their new Core Fury. So they have a new version of their pre-workout Core Fury that's coming. It's just simply going to be called Core Fury. It was originally referred to as Core Fury Platinum, but this is promising to be Core's best pre-workout to date, which is a bold statement since the brand, it's known for its good, solid, well-rounded, heavy-dosed pre-workouts and supplements. So I'm curious to see how this one turns out. Core doesn't usually exaggerate too much with its teasing and hyping, but that one's coming out. But either way, the reason I bring them up is because they announced that another one of the products that has been revamped with their rebrand is Core Pro, where Core Pro is Core Nutritional's blend style protein powder. It's been available for a while, a number of flavors, typical set of macros, and the new version basically intends to carry that on, but with a fully transparent protein blend, as well as a whole bunch of new flavors that, by the sounds of things, is going to be even better than the current Core Pro you'll find on the market. The macros are, again, like most products, they'll vary from flavor to flavor, but it's going to be 25 grams of protein, 2 grams each of fat and carbs per serving. The protein is going to come from as I mentioned, a transparent blend. So instead of just saying you got 25 grams of protein from whey, casein, and milk, the new Core Pro is going to basically break everything down for you, and it's telling you that your 50% of the protein is from whey concentrate, and then 25% is from whey isolate, and 25% from milk isolate. So this is kind of a modern approach. We've only seen maybe 10 to 20 brands do this over the past couple of years. Germ, I think Grenade was another one of the first ones to do it. There've been a bunch since. NutriBio was, of course, the original that did it well before anybody else. Ghost is another one. So basically it means that transparent blend basically tells you how much protein you're getting from the good quality, less quality, or whatever one you want, protein sources. Typically when you get a blend protein, it may just say this is 25 grams from whey concentrate, whey isolate. It could be 90% concentrate. It can only 10% isolate. So you don't really know. Transparent kind of throws that out the window and breaks it down for you and says that, it's 50% concentrate, 50%, or whatever it may be. That will be what they're doing with Core Pro. And the product is launching with 6 flavors. So they're not going to be selling you short with options when it arrives. There'll be vanilla cupcake, Death by Chocolate, cookies and cream, chocolate peanut butter, fruity cereal, and maple crunch toast. That one is due to launch in the coming months. I think Core said it was going to be coming around early March, which is bang on the Arnold. And I suspect they might actually be there as well, so it's kind of perfect timing. More information on that will be shared as we get closer, but as I touched on earlier, Core is basically going to be blowing out with this first few months with launches and hype around its rebrand. And that will be coming before the new Core Pro, so keep an eye out for that, as always, at Stack3d.com. The last kind of topic we're going to touch on for this episode is our Brand of the Year award. Now, we've done this for as long as we've been around, basically, which I don't even know. It's getting close to a decade. It's been a while. And we've run the Brand of the Year awards, I think it was every year since we started. Might have been the second year. Where I just basically run through some of the most exciting brands I've ever liked in the year. That does change from year to year. As you can imagine, some brands will pop up and blow up, and then the next year they might just not do anything. And I wouldn't take in their previous year's work. It would just be based on what they did in that year. And so it is really kind of just the standout of the year. We've seen a number of big brands win, a number of innovative, creative, awesome brands take it home. Man Sports got it a few years ago. Myochem won it once. Redcon 1 took it home for the past 2 years. But for 2020, we actually introduced, for 2019, we actually introduced new categories. While still maintaining that original overall Brand of the Year. The new categories are Newcomer of the Year, Functional Brand of the Year, and International Brand of the Year. Functional is pretty straightforward. You're basically taking the same concepts and angles as overall Brand of the Year, but it relates to only functional brands. That does not apply to brands that do supplements and functional. It's just straight functional brands. The Newcomer is a new brand that stepped onto the scene in 2019. We do include a couple months from the year before, just because giving a brand 1 year and then saying they can't be considered is a bit rough. But again, same principles that we look for overall Brand of the Year. And then we have International Brand of the Year. Again, same principles, but it excludes any company in North America, US, Canada, and so on. So, the last week we announced the winners of each of those 3 new awards. Chemix from the Gorilla Chemist took home the Newcomer of the Year, who if anybody had followed the brand will know that was just almost an easy give. Those guys killed it. I would say Arms Race Nutrition from the guys from Doug Miller and Julian Smith were damn close behind. They burst out onto the scene last year and did bring a little bit of hype following, but Chemex was a good pick. They almost felt like they were around longer than a year, which was crazy because they just become so established and so reputable so quickly. It was just hard to realize that they had only been around for a year. Not even yet, because they launched late last year in January, so they haven't even been around for a year yet. But they've just become a known brand. International brand of the year went to the South Africa-based Evolve Nutrition, who, another one, kind of burst out onto the scene. They've been around for a bit, but they burst out with their clinical series, which was just a huge new line from them that, as per the name, brought about a whole bunch of supplements with clinical doses and loaded formulas, which was not something we were used to seeing or had seen from them. In fact, the stuff that Evolve Nutrition came out with was far beyond what I would consider typical from any international company. The way they approached their supplements was just a lot more American-like, really. We just get very competitive, very loaded, very full-on supplements, which isn't the case in a lot of countries around the world. And seeing this just come out of nowhere from Evolve was really impressive. And they didn't just do one product; they had a whole bunch in that series. I think it was 4, maybe. I'm pretty sure it was 4 or 5. No, 4 in total. There was a fat burner, a pre-workout, a pump pre-workout, an amino, and they had a whole bunch of other things outside of this as well. So on top of delivering these solid, very direction-changing supplements, they were keeping busy with flavors and new supplements for their regular lineup and so on. So it was just a crazy year for a brand that had been around for a while. It's almost re-established themselves as a serious international competitor, delivering formulas that, is just respected in multiple countries. And it was exciting to follow them and see what they brought to the table, and I'm even more excited to see what they bring in 2020. And the last award for those new categories is Functional Brand of the Year, and that went to none other than Outright from Mark Lobliner, which, again, if you follow that brand, you knew it was almost a given. Those guys killed it with like a new flavor or product almost every month, every 2 weeks or so, and if they weren't bringing out a new flavor, they're already talking about another. In fact, I'm pretty sure with every launch, Mark teased another, or in fact, even before launching one, he was teasing another that was coming later. So he was busy as hell. And, as I think we've mentioned before, that with Brand of the Year and awards like this, excitement, entertainment, innovation, creativity, just new, frequent, consistent launches throughout the year is pretty much what we look for to keep our audience entertained, to keep me entertained, to keep people interested and keep everything exciting and competitive. And all of those brands, Chemex, Evolve, Outright, they just did that from start to finish in 2019. And I mean, it's just, they demonstrated what a brand should do. And I'll be surprised if you hadn't heard of any of them, maybe not so much into Evolve due to it being international, but they made themselves known. And it was just, those types of brands in my mind should always be rewarded. And that's what we do with Brand of the Year. We reward these companies that put in the effort, that we recognize the effort, and we just highlight them. Big or small, effort is all the same. And when it comes to delivering solid, well-rounded products, that attribute is not exclusive to big companies, medium or small. Anybody can do that. And the brands that have won our Brand of the Year awards over the years have proven that. We do have, as I said, our overall Brand of the Year award. That wasn't announced last week. That's been announced this week on Wednesday. We did previously confirm our 5 nominees, who are NutriBio, Redcon, Boma, Ghost, and Inspired. And they are actually, we announced the first 3, so the 3rd, 4th, and 5th place today. This has been recorded Monday. And that was NutriBio in 5th, Boma in 4th, Redcon 1 in 3rd. And to be honest, I could have switched any of those guys around and I would have felt comfortable. If there was a 3rd equal, I probably would have done it, but just for the sake of keeping it straightforward, we had 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and they were all well-deserved NutriBio, releasing one new product every week for 6 months was insane. And then even keeping things going the best they could for the last half of the year was impressive. Redcon 1, they didn't quite do as well or as excited as previous years, but they still delivered consistent products and flavors. Numerous new supplements. You got their new version of MedKit to be more cost effective in a tub. You got their first plant-based vegan-friendly protein in Green Beret. The cereal piece protein bar that actually also launched last year. There were several new flavors of Total War, limited edition, special edition, alternative packaging. I mean, and you can't forget, they opened their own damn gym. Bomar as well was a very big surprise in 2019. They almost felt like they came out of nowhere. Like, I hadn't heard of them, and then it was just non-stop. And again, very similar to Outright, if they weren't talking about or launching a new product, if they weren't launching a new product, they were talking about one. They had their protein spread, their spread treat for dogs. They had their protein infused Bomar butter. They had their protein puffs. They had protein popcorn. They had new flavors for their protein powders, their vegan protein powder, their pre-workout. Don't forget the pickle flavored pre-workout. Bomar was another impressive one. And like I said, while we gave fifth the NutriBio, Bomar fourth, and Redcon third, I would have switched them all around happily. And that's the ones we ended up picking. Which does mean that the final two, the first and the second, is going to be between Ghost and Inspired, which, as mentioned, will be announced on Wednesday. The winner is actually going to receive, I believe it's an almost 2 foot tall, 25. I think it's 20-pound trophy. We customized the shit out of this thing. We don't like to give away trophies and stuff until we can do them big. Now, this thing is fucking awesome from what I've seen. And that winner, again, will be announced Wednesday. So definitely tune into the site. It'll probably be likely going up around the midday in the afternoon. But again, thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Stack Supplement Podcast. I'll be back again next week. And, of course, bringing you more excitement and updates.